Good morning, I'm Jim Moore, and this is Justice for America. It is May 16th, 2023, and this is episode number 46. Glad to have you with us here this morning. We're going to be talking about the current border invasion, that our kids, what the condition is and what the plan and the program is for kids today, and then also about government corruption. And an interesting one, becoming gods, okay? There are people that really think we're supposed to become gods. So thank you for tuning in. This program comes to you every Tuesday morning. And I was going to say we're usually Texas time, which is 9 o'clock my time, 7 o'clock West Coast time. But we're glad to have you. We also broadcast on a variety of other channels, YouTube, Rumble, Getter. I can't list them all, but there's a lot of them. So maybe I'll put a list on at the end of the program today to show you where those are, and so that you can find them there at your convenience. But this program is to talk about social issues. I'm a Bible guy. I'm a preacher, 40 years. And my wife, Linda, have been in the ministry. But we have something to say about social issues. And I believe God has something to say about social issues. A while back, we had a dream. And in the dream, we were really, I think, commanded to do this program. So that's what we're doing. So God bless you. There's my beloved Linda. And if I missed your name, I apologize. Let's see. It's Cassandra. There you are, Cassandra. God bless you. Oh, no, wait a minute. That is, yeah, Cassandra. And then the other Linda and Teresa. God bless you guys. So my object, and I believe it's the Lord's object in this program, is not to be a news agency. I just want to make that clear. I can't compete with the news agencies. I don't want to compete with them. I'm not trying to give you the fastest, quickest stuff. Really what I want to do is talk about what's happening in our world from a biblical perspective so that you can be informed and know how to go to your God about the place where He has planted you, where you live, be concerned about what He's concerned about, and so on and so on. So I'm here to direct you to the links that I have perused throughout the week and eliminated a bunch of them, right? And these are the ones that I feel were impressed upon my spirit to put here. So having said that, let's launch into these links, and I'm going to describe each one of them, and then it's up to you. The biggest part of this program is not me giving you my opinion about current events, although that is obviously what I'm doing. But it's about you researching those things. They're actually telling you now, don't research. I saw some things the other day that said, stop trying to find facts. Only listen to the government. Only listen to the media, the alphabet media. That is so completely, I mean, it's like the devil telling you, don't listen to God. Don't listen to anything else. Just listen to me. I'm going to tell you, hey, Deb. All right. Not to demonize all sources, that are not Christian. That's not what I'm trying to do. But you are responsible before your God to know the truth and to live by it. And so you can't know the truth if you don't care about finding it. So anyway, all right, let's start. So the first one that I have here, I'm sorry, I keep hitting my thing here. My apologies. Trying to keep my camera from busting over here, falling over on the ground. I know it's not very professional. My apologies. All right. Number one, link. Now, I've got a few different categories, all right? And I tried to kind of match the categories with the title. They're not always in order. But the first one is what's happening on our border. Now, suffice it to say that a crisis of unprecedented proportions are literally happening on our American-Mexican border right now. Without a doubt, we're the only country in the world that allows unfettered access. And I know you're going to hear a lot of arguments about this and that and the other thing, but I'm here to tell you what I believe is the plain and simple truth. It is mostly unfettered access. I know there are different states trying to stop that now, and that's right to do that. And I know it's a two-sided issue. It's an issue about policy and politics. It's also an issue about humanity, and I'll talk about that in a second. But for all intents and purposes, the mass majority of people that have wanted to get in the United States from other countries, and we're not just talking about Mexico, in case you're not aware, they come through Mexico, but they are coming from all over the world right now, flooding into the United States. And somebody would say, isn't this what we want? Don't we want, to share our American dream with everyone? There is a limit to that. You may have an abundance in your home and want to share it with other people who are looking for a better life and so on. And that's a great thing that you would want to do that. But you wouldn't simply just open your door to hundreds, thousands, whatever people and just say, yeah, come in and eat all my food and do whatever. There's a limit, is what I'm saying. Yes, we want to be compassionate. Yes, we want to help people. These are human beings, and we don't ever want to lose our understanding that this issue is not just about security and policy and, being able to govern. I mean, these are real things, and they are important things. And it is about humanity as well. So, most of you know Title 42 was a Trump-era policy that was put in place to give strength to Border Patrol and government officials to turn back the tidal wave of individuals trying to come into the country. Okay, now we're not talking about a little trickle. We're not talking about the people that come across in their cars to go to work that have green cards and all that. We're talking about masses of humanity from all not being able to really vet them. Okay, a lot of people. Okay, and I'm going to take the unpopular position here. Okay, I don't do that on purpose, but I think that's true sometimes. Anyway, a lot of them they're good people. Okay, they're not all cartel. They're not all drug dealers, although there are those. There are drug dealers, cartel, there are terrorists. Okay, the reason we have the border is for security, so that our resources don't get sucked. Just like I use the illustration, somebody coming into your house and you got 20 people coming to your house and they just eat all your food and then you have no food left. That is reality. Okay, yeah. But there are human beings involved. Okay, there are good and bad. And again, I know in order to win the argument about closing the borders, which that's the side I'm on, I believe that it has gotten so bad there needs to be a shutdown of the border. That's my opinion. I think once you do that for a while, it'll get everyone's attention and we're like, okay, now how can we make this work for everybody? Shut it down. I believe that radical times call for radical solutions, and this is the most radical time that history in this country has ever seen, bar none, many, many times worse. So, having said that, Title 42 has been lifted. Now, right in the nick of time, one of the links I'll have here will point you to some legislation that came forth that was supposed to try to help stem that. I don't think it did at all. And I forget his title, but Mayorkas basically has come out and said, oh yeah, it's better now. It's not better now. And here's the other thing you need to know before I go into these. Hi, Dana. God bless you. So what will happen is you'll see these things promulgated on the news just like, it's the same way as like, think of when a natural disaster happens or a school shooting or something really bad happens. You have to understand the media on both sides of the equation. If there's only two sides, there's not, but you get what I'm saying. There are two things that they're concerned about. Okay, they're concerned about information and they're concerned about ratings. Because if you don't have ratings, if people are watching your show, then why are you doing your show? So that is an unavoidable thing. We want to put out there what people want to see, and the assumption is that people want to see what's happening right now, and that's to a large degree true. All right, the other point is the message. Okay, now some agencies, let's put them all the way up on the right, say we just want to get information out. We want to diminish to the greatest degree our, what we're trying to prove a point. We're trying to win the message. We have a message to bring. And so it's called the narrative, not trying to insult your intelligence. Okay, that would be on one side. So we're not really interested in promoting a political narrative. We just want to tell what's happening and let you decide. That's the way news agencies used to be. Okay, I don't think very many people on the right or the left are doing that anymore. Excuse me. I would say that those on the left are the absolute worst at this. They have a narrative. They're trying to get it across. They filter everything through what brings the ratings and what promotes the narrative. If it doesn't promote the narratives, and that, to me, in my mind, my understanding is more important to them than even getting the ratings, okay? So if it doesn't promote a right narrative in their mind, they're not going to show it. So why am I saying that? I'm saying that because you'll see stuff come out, and for a few days, and all we heard for a whole week was about the border. Now you're not hearing hardly anything. Why? Because of ratings. Because we need to move on to the next thing that happens so that people will keep watching, right? I get that. I understand that. All right? These problems that are facing our nation don't go away because the news agencies handed down from the top to the next guy and the next guy and the next guy, all the way down to the anchor person sitting in front of the camera. The anchor person is deciding what goes on TV. Oh, please understand that. It's not the guy or the gal sitting there behind the camera saying it's, and that's the way it is, like Walter Cronkite used to say. No, it's the guy that owns the company that hands it down, and it's a trickle-down kind of a thing. So once they call it a news cycle, has gone on for a while, they'll stop talking about it. It doesn't mean it's gone away. Now, one of the most significant things that has ever, and I don't believe I'm exaggerating with this, has ever happened to our country is happening. Started last week. May 11th was the day that Title 24 was lifted, and it's going on, and it's going to go on. Now, you may not get a lot of information coming forth, hey, Angie, in the next weeks, months, whatever. But trust me, this thing, the faucet has been opened, and the consequences of what has happened, okay, notwithstanding all the compassion that we want to have and all that, the consequences will be devastating for this country. Okay, it's not a good thing that's happening right now. So I really kind of felt impressed today to give you quite a few links so that you can have a really good grasping of what's actually happening, okay? Not what you're hearing, not what the debate is about, but what's actually happening, okay? So I've got a lot. I was almost going to do just the border today because I felt so strongly about this, but there are some other things that are important too that I'm going to throw in there. Okay, enough of that. Number one, mass migration now flooding the U.S. and Chicago residents respond. Now, these are not necessarily in the order of importance, but this one is about the Chicago residents. A woman is getting up and she's telling them, hey, there's a humanitarian crisis happening in our city, and here's what we're going to do to take care of it. Okay, this is true. So Governor Abbott, he's not the only one, but is busing, he's the big guy. And frankly, I believe he's right to do this, is taking the migrants that are coming across the numbers that you get are all over the page. You get all the way down from just a trickle, a few thousand, to hundreds of thousands. The aggregate of the numbers I'm hearing in the millions, okay? Who knows? I don't think anybody really knows because there's so many that have crossed. They call them gotaways that have actually, okay, just the ones that they've been able to record that have come through over the last year have been definitely in the millions. Over the last days and a week have been into, no doubt, the hundreds of thousands. So if you're looking for an accurate number, good luck with that. But these are being bused to other places because Governor Abbott, and I agree with him, I know that's unpopular, but I agree with him. He's saying, you know what, you cannot sit in your ivory tower in Washington, D.C. and have a policy that allows a tidal wave of humanity to come into our state, and then you say, you guys get to deal with it. It's not just, it's not right, okay? Maybe the state of Texas or New Mexico or Arizona, maybe or California can't change the policy right now. They can enact their own policies in their state, and they can say, well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to ship them to you so that you can feel the pain a little bit. And now everybody is, and finally people are starting to go, oh, Oh my gosh, this is not a good thing, okay? What it takes to wake us up sometimes is stunning. All right. So they're talking in this thing, and the young lady is talking about what they're going to do, and the people are saying, they're not having it. They're saying, no way, we're not going to do it. I heard of one place where they were kicking veterans out of a motel where they were being housed for whatever reason to make room for migrants. Okay, so it's an impossible situation. It's not right, so there's number one. Number two, this quickly is just a quick thing of gunfire at the border. Even before May 11th, that day, the day that Donald Trump said we'll live in infamy, and I think he's right, gunfire has been breaking out at the border, okay? And again, you're only going to see what you really want to see. If you're still bound to what I call the alphabet media, the ABC, CBS, NBC, and CNN, and so on and so on, these agencies are admittedly liberal to the max. They are not in any way like concerned. So you're going to hear it filter through that. I'm just going to tell you out and out, stop listening to it. I watch them once in a while, but I watch it with the understanding of who they are. Okay, you need to learn to go somewhere else. We've got OAN, we've got Newsmax, Fox, we've got a number of different agencies, I believe, that are, to the most part, doing their best to say, here's what's really happening. All right, so that was border gunfire. Number three, the state under siege. So one of the representatives in the state that I'm currently living in Texas, his name is Chip Roy, and he's a cowboy. He is he's a gunfighter. He's a warrior, okay? And he doesn't, he doesn't control his tongue very well. And he is a bit old school. There's no doubt about it. Chip Roy. I mean, think of the name, like Roy Rogers, And he does an interview. I forget who it was that's interviewing, but I'm telling you, he's a plain-spoken man that says this is what's happening. So have you learned that there's a war of words right now? Of phrases. Let me just give you a kind of an extreme example real quick, okay? We take a word, we change what it means. If we want a word to take on a negative context because it best matches my narrative, my storyline, then we'll make that word into something bad, okay? Or good, either way. And so, classic example, there is a call now to make the word woke, okay, for someone to use the word woke as a racist slur. Okay, now, woke has nothing to do with race, but it doesn't matter because people they're hypnotized and they just sit and they watch their news and they go, yeah, that's true. My gosh, that's true. Oh, yeah. Woke is a word that defines a certain philosophical mentality of how you see the world and your country and so on. It has nothing to do with race, at least not in the overarching sense. But this is what we do. So we're going to take a word and we're going to make it demonize that word. See, we'll demonize people. If you cannot have a discussion about something and let it be civil and talk about it, okay, then what we wind up doing is mocking the people, our opponent, the person that disagrees with us. Then we demonize them. They're the devil. They're Hitler. They're the most awful person. Or we change their words into something that are bad, so they can't even say them. So imagine someone making a law that says you cannot use the word woke anymore. This happens. There are words right now that if you use them, you will be in trouble literally with the law for using it. All right, so Chip Roy talks about what's happening on the border. And again, these first number are about that. And again, I'm sure you already know about what's going on, but I want to encourage you to look these links up. Some of them are long. You don't have to watch the whole thing, but get an understanding of what's actually happening. Okay, there are unprecedented numbers that are crossing the border. Hi, Ann. All right, number 4. This one, Laura Ingram, I think, did this one. And I'm going to say again real quick, I know we do this thing. It goes all the way back to the Bible. I am of Paul. I am of Apollos. We tend to listen to and gather information, right? We all gather information all the time. Don't think that that's not you, because it is. We all are gaining information all the time. But we tend to gravitate towards people that we like, people that are like us, people that agree with us, on the same page, and so on. I believe a certain amount of that is right. However, just because someone has a personality that you don't like doesn't necessarily mean that what they're saying is true or not true. It's up to you. That's actually, and I'm going Bible here a little bit, which I typically don't do too much on this program, but the scripture says, let the prophets prophesy and let 2 or 3 judge. In other words, you're supposed to be judging the content, not necessarily the person. Okay, and again, I know there's limits to that, right? There's always limits to it. So I say that because I know Laura Ingraham is one that a lot of people don't really care for her personality, but what she's saying, I believe, is actually accurate. She's saying what's happening today is both unconscionable and impeachable and unconscionable. I want to go on record. I know it's extreme, and I know people say, Jim, you're too extreme, but listen, I believe what's happening as a consequence of the disregard for dangerous policy is that people are dying of fentanyl overdoses. I think the U.S. government said that they've seized enough fentanyl in the United States coming across the border. Just what they seized, not what's gotten in, which is a fraction of what's gotten in. They seized enough at the border to kill every American in the United States 4 times. That's what they've found, what they seized, what they've stopped from coming in. And they say what's come in is way more than that. We've got an estimated, I think it was, 300,000 or 400,000, maybe more children. We're talking about minors who have been lost. They don't know where they're at. They don't know who has them. The trafficking, not even to mention old, college age, teenage, whatever. We're talking about just minors have been trafficked into labor trafficking, all manner of human trafficking, sex trafficking. Okay. The stuff that's happening is unconscionable. It's not a little issue. And sometimes we don't feel the burden of this until it affects us personally. And since we typically don't have relatives coming across the border, and we don't maybe have anyone touched by fentanyl, I have, sometimes it's like, what a shame, what a shame. And then we just move on to the next news cycle. Trust me when I tell you, this bothers God more than it bothers us. All right, so that's a good one to look at. And I understand you're not going to be able to watch all of these, but I encourage you to watch some of them. Once in a while, I'll get somebody to say, I watched every one of them. I want to give them like a brownie button or something. All right, number 5. The Attorney General, I believe it's from Florida, her name is Ashley someone, says Biden will be America's kryptonite. Now, people both on the right and on the left, and again, I like to say this, I don't like labels. I think labels are an attempt to put everybody under one category. I don't think it works. Even the word Christian, which is a Bible term, I use it. I think it's a great word. I don't think it's terrible. But just to say you're a Christian, to put everybody under that category it's not accurate, is what I'm saying. You can have someone who carries the name, and the Bible talks about this too. It says, let those who name the name of Christ depart from iniquity. You got the wheat and the tares all under the same title, right? And I think it works when we talk about the right and the left, or Republican or Democrat. You cannot put everybody under the same category. I don't like when say the Democrats, because that's, okay, you get what I'm saying. It doesn't fit everyone. So Attorney General Ashley is saying this will be the undoing of our country if. And of course, we don't pray that way. We're not doomsdayers. We're not like, everything's going to go down. But we also understand the reality. These kinds of things in various degrees happened all the way through history, all the way through Bible history. We're not ignorant of the enemy's devices. Okay, we're not ignorant of prophecy, those of you who love prophecy, that says, hey, these things are going to come upon the world. All right. So she's talking about that. It's a great interview. Again, she's one that I believe says it straight. I think one of the issues we have in the media today is everyone's trying to be apologetic. Nobody wants to be the slammed. Nobody wants to be thought bad of. Nobody wants to be canceled. We literally have become afraid. The Bible talks about in the last days, people that don't get into heaven are cowards. Why would God do that? Because it is important that our light shines. We are to speak the truth in love. One scripture says that we have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness. And what's happening right now is darkness. It says, but rather reprove. The word reprove means to speak up, literally. So you can't get a hall pass and go, God doesn't want us to do that. I heard a message in church the other day. It was a fantastic message about anger. A lot of people angry today, a lot of Christians angry. Don't give place to unrighteous anger. Now, the flip side to that argument that was left out, unfortunately, of the message is the Bible says, be angry and sin not. So there literally is a kind of an anger. Listen, we don't want Christians that never get upset about anything. I use this illustration all the time. If you see a little girl walking down the street and you see a gang of people starting to attack that child and you don't get upset about it, then there's something wrong with you. Okay, there is a time to get upset about something, but you can do it in a way that actually is like the Lord. Okay, Jesus got upset, right? Okay, he wasn't that way all the time, but there were times he was. Okay, number 6. I know I go on these rants. Thank you for putting up with me. I'm trying to speak the truth. I'm trying to bring a balance to a scenario that oftentimes goes extreme one way or extreme the other way instead of walking down the middle and saying, what would Jesus do? Would Jesus just turn his head away when someone was being beaten up? No. Or someone was being sexually abused? No. For heaven's sakes, no. Why then do we feel like that's Christian to do that? It's not. It's not Christian to pick up a sword and start going, or a gun and start shooting everybody either. Of course not. Okay? All right. Stop. Jim. All right, number 6. Texas sues Homeland Security over dangerous and irresponsible border policy. I'm going to read this to you real quick. Ken Paxton, who's also another AG, we just talked about it, AG Ashley. Ken Paxton, the AG of Texas, said these words, no words can adequately describe the unmitigated catastrophe that Joe Biden has created. Now, over and over and over, people that have actually been to the border, took pictures, took videos, maybe you've seen them. If you haven't, I beg you to watch them because it has been greatly understated what's happening. I'm living here right now. I can tell you, okay, I'm going to go down that path. Another attorney, when you get the attorney that's over a whole, I think of the one attorney. You got hundreds of attorneys in any individual state. The attorney general is the top attorney in the state, saying this is not just, kind of an unfortunate thing that's happening. He said this is illegal. We're talking about you don't become the attorney general without being highly educated, highly successful in prosecuting crime. Okay? Now, these attorney generals, I forget how many there are now around the country. I think I read once, maybe it was 13. Don't quote me on that. But they're all saying the same thing. Not only is this dangerous, not only is this immoral, not only are children being sacrificed, not only are drugs flowing into our country, but this is illegal. Why is it that those who are sworn to uphold the legalities of our country, which is what keeps chaos from ensuing, why are they stepping back and saying, it's not that big of a deal? Okay? Are you listening? This is the voice of reason talking to you. All right, so this is a good one. I think that was a read. Number 7, Biden's border crisis begins. I think that's like a video. Again, this is all over the internet. I've just given you a selection of them. Okay. Number 8, 2 senators. Okay, again, we're talking about senators. Now, I want to say something real quick. In case you're one where when you begin to talk about these issues, now, first of all, I hope that we're past, at least many of us, hopefully many of us, the place where we keep saying, I don't get involved in politics. Okay, listen. Please listen. Don't turn me off. Listen. Politics it comes from the word policy. Are we really saying that we don't want any policy? Call it a rule, call it a law. It's a reality. It's where we live. We're actually called to pray for those who create and oversee these things. Isn't that what your Bible says? Pray for governors and rulers and kings and princes and cabinets, whatever. Everybody says pray for all of them. Why? That you may lead a quiet and peaceable life in godliness and righteousness. God actually wants our governing systems to be godly and righteous. Well, of course he does. Why wouldn't he? So how can we as a Christian, when God says, I want this, and I even want you to pray about it, go, I don't have anything to do with it. It's ridiculous. It's an error. I think the reason we started down that path is because we saw so much corruption. Our knee-jerk reaction, I understand it, I've done it myself, is say, I don't want to be touched. Don't let me get dirty. And then we look in the Bible and go, hey, Jesus didn't get involved with that. You know why Jesus didn't get involved? Same reason he wasn't a fireman. Same reason he wasn't a police officer or a doctor or whatever. Because he had a very narrow job to do while he was on the earth. And that is to come and bring the good news of salvation and the kingdom of God. Okay? If we say that that is the standard for all of our occupations, then anything that isn't a preacher like Jesus was in a miracle work is off limits. Okay? Of course that's not true. All right, so there are, and I know many of you pray for officials who are trying to govern correctly according to the will of God. There are many of them. We pray for them. Okay? Well, if we don't believe that there should be a military or a soldier, being a soldier is not of God, then we should stop praying for soldiers. We should just pray that they get out, okay? Or politicians, or, cooks, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Okay, I'm not trying to insult your intelligence. I'm just saying, let's think about this. Let's think this through. So, these senators come together. I forget who they are. I think one is Kansas, and I don't remember the other one. I can't remember all the information. All right. They say, again, what's happening has been greatly understated. Okay, I've already covered that. That's another good one. You should watch it. Number 9, most of you know who Ted Cruz is. You might like him. You might not like him. He is a senator here from Texas. One thing I will tell you about Ted Cruz is he is a no-nonsense man who will say what he believes to be the truth. Right or wrong, he's going to come out and speak it. Okay? I don't think I'd vote for him to be the president. How you doing, Kathleen? But I do believe he is doing his best to be a truth teller. So he is at an interview, actually with those 2 senators, I think, before, and the link before, and he's being asked questions. And again, the legacy media, the alphabet media, that says we just got to prove our point no matter what. We'll twist the facts. We'll try to get a I gotcha moment. Here, let's ask him a question where it just stumbles them and I gotcha. They ask some foolish question that really is designed to make them look stupid, and Cruz goes off on him. And you know what? I believe he was in his right to do it. He says that is a silly, ridiculous question, and so on and so on. You're going to want to watch that one. Number 10, Florida Congresswoman Anna Paulina. I think this is a Twitter. Now, some of you don't have Twitter. I'm not going to tell you should or shouldn't have, but a lot of these things now, actually, you can link on them. All right, just a little practical note here. Say, I don't have Facebook. Well, you have Facebook, you wouldn't be watching this. I don't have Instagram. I don't have whatever. Most of these, Twitter, Instagram, Getter, whatever they are, will allow you to access that single link. Okay? Do you understand what I'm saying? Because I have people say, well, I'm not on Twitter. I can't get there. No, you probably can. I'm not saying it works the same way for everyone. But when I don't have a Twitter account, which I do right now, but when I don't have one, and somebody sends me a Twitter link, I can click on it and it'll let me see that one thing, but then it wants me to sign up. So what I'm saying is don't disregard these that are perhaps of an account that you don't have and assume that you won't be able to access it. You probably can. Maybe not. I don't know for sure because I can't say it works the same way for everybody unless they take it down, and they take down mine frequently. So this congresswoman gives a quick little Twitter blip, and this is a very short, like 30-second, 1-minute video where it literally shows when the title 2042 was lifted and the rush of humanity. Now, I said it once, I'm going to say it again. Mayorkas. Who is he? Somebody tell me who he is. I rely on you guys to be my fact checkers. Is he in charge of national security? Whatever he is. Anyway, he's the guy. Kamala Harris doesn't talk about the border at all anymore. Zero, zip, nada. Okay? But this guy does. He's the fall guy. He's the guy saying whatever the president and whoever is below the president tells him to say. Out and out, and I will not retract this because I know it to be the truth. Out and out lies. Defiance of the truth. Absolute opposite of the truth. We're going to double down and tell you what we wish were the truth, because we know there are a lot of foolish people that will believe it no matter what. So here's what he said. I looked for this link. I watched it a couple times. I forgot to save it. Now I can't find it at all. Maybe you can. Okay. Here's what Mayorkas said. He got up a couple of days after 42 was lifted, May 11th, and he said, we're happy. I'm not quoting him, but basically said, our numbers of people getting over the border are down 50%. Oh, at first I laughed, and then I was mad, and then I laughed again, and I thought, dear God in heaven, how can these people bald-faced lie to millions of... Everybody who's on the internet can see that that's not true. We're talking... Yeah, anyway. So that's not this link, but it's just, you must understand what's happening. You really must. Okay, you shouldn't be confused about who's telling the truth and who's not. Really, not for the largest part. I understand that sometimes there's some discernment that needs to go on, but unless you're just a baby Christian, you have no common sense at all, you ought to be able to see what's happening right now. Okay. All right. Number 11. So that's a good one. That's worth watching, or that's just a short one. Number 11 is Sean Foyt. Y'all know Sean Foyt, and Carrie Lake, who was the person that ran, I forget the other lady's name, in Arizona, and they believe that she lost the election because of corruption. Yeah, I'm not going to go down that path, but they're talking about the real, well, actually, it's not a talk, it's a picture. Okay, this one's a picture. And I want to warn you, the picture is graphic. I don't like putting these on, but I do believe that many Americans have become desensitized to what is actually happening. I could give you videos. One guy who was a super godly man, an anointed preacher, prophet. I'm telling you, he is loved by millions of people. One of the things he does is he rescues kids on the border. If you were to listen to the things he said that happened, you couldn't believe it. We're talking torture. I can't even go down the road. I can't even go down the road. It is too horrifying to even... And yet, here's a man of God I know is not lying. Actually working with people, the cartels that are... Yeah, anyway. This is just a picture, okay? You'll have to look at it. I want to warn you, it's graphic. It's not blood and guts graphic. It's a different kind of graphic. But you probably should look at it. Hi, Kim. God bless you. Nice to see you again. All right. So that one is just a photograph. Number 12, House Republicans pass sweeping border bill. I don't want to talk about this too much because I don't really understand it. And I always want to be upfront with you. Here's one. I know right before the Title 42 lifted, they created some laws that are supposed to really help. Now, there are some that were created by the Republicans, and I believe there are some that Biden tried to initiate. Really, it's like sticking their finger in the dike. It really has not done much of anything at all. Maybe it will in the future. You're going to have to investigate that if you desire to do that on your own. But that little link right there will help get you started if you want. Hi, Mom. Nice to have you. All right, so that was number 12. Number 13. There has recently been an uncovered, now here's what I like, Donald Trump, and I didn't include any of the Donald Trump stuff. I am not a messianic Donald Trump follower. I believe the man has done some super good things. I think he's been demonized, literally demonized. The kind of hatred and vitriol that gets pointed at this man is unbelievable, and I believe it's satanic for the most part, okay? Not going to go down that. But one of the things he did in an interview, if you didn't watch a CNN interview, you should, where he is being interviewed by someone from CNN. It was disastrous for CNN and really helped Donald Trump. Anyway, one of the things he did, an accusation was leveled against him about something he did, and he reached in his pocket and pulled out documentation. See, it's going to have to more and more be like that. Because we're in a he said, she said world. We're in a who knows fake news, who knows real news world. We're in an AI world where stuff is getting made up and made up and looked to be okay, documentation. So he pulls out the documentation and says, here's what I actually said on that day. You probably know the day I'm talking about. So what am I saying? Documentation has been uncovered. It is real, okay? You can look at it, that that the governments, our government, okay, I believe it was from Biden, right from the top, said this, and this was to border agents and so on: when the time comes, open the gates and let them come in, okay? I don't want to get my facts mixed up, so that's all I'm going to say, but you can look at it, you can listen to what it says. It is stunning, okay? So this isn't public, this wasn't put out for everyone to see, there wasn't a press release, the president didn't stand up and give a countrywide address, this is what we're going to do, but there's a memo that nobody was supposed to find out about, that was said, and again, it's documented. We're not talking about hearsay, we're not talking about conspiracy, we're talking about documentation, by somebody who yeah, anyway, I'm going to stop right there, saying basically, let him in, okay? So the idea, Majorca, stand up, we have policy in place, we're keeping people, we're doing this, we're doing that, the numbers are down 50%, lies, 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 lies. The truth is it was given to them absolute permission and really direction to open it up. Hey, Dan. All right, so that's a good one. Number 13, that's one you should definitely watch. Number 14, this is one from Newsmax talking about the House passing a security bill. Again, I'm not going to go much into that because I'm not that informed. Number 15, what can you say about our president right now? Part of me feels really sorry for him, and part of me feels like he is terrorizing our country and needs to step down. He's not going to do that. He'll either be voted out, pass away, whatever, God forbid, taken out. I hope that doesn't happen. That would be the worst thing ever to happen for our country. But I believe that if ever there was, and I'm very serious about this, very sober about this, if there was ever a leader, the Lord spoke to me this the other day about churches that I've seen that flourished, and then leadership changed, and the leadership was not good or godly, and they no longer flourished. Matter of fact, they went downhill, and they went downhill fast. And no matter how much anybody spinned it and tried to make it okay, it was not okay. And the Lord told me, he said, Jim, this is happening in your country right now. Okay? When there's in the Bible, again, it says this, you guys, this is not just somebody political. Oh, they have a political, the only reason they're saying this is because they're on this side of the political. No, there may be people that feel that way. I'm not one of them. Okay, the scripture says, when the godly rule, the people rejoice. When ungodly rule, it's terrible. Okay, so anyway, short little interview, 30-second interview. Biden, he's out riding a bike, wearing a helmet, sucking on an ice cream cone. And they ask him about the border crisis. Oh, it's good, it's awesome, it's not that big a deal. He laughs about it. Yeah, all right, you should watch that. It's a shorty. All right, so that's all for the border crisis. I've got 10 minutes left, keeping this under an hour. I thought very seriously about only doing the border because you're not going to hear much of it. I don't think. This is my opinion. They're probably the news cycles are going to shift and move on to other things. But I think it's important that you realize the millions that are coming. And I will say millions, because some people I really trust say, oh no. They alter these numbers all the time accordingly and blah, blah, blah. But really, over the last year and a half, so on, millions. It's going to forever change our country, forever. Now, I'm not saying God can't pull us into something good out of that. I believe he is the best at doing that, okay? He takes what Satan meant for evil and he makes it for good. That's how we ought to pray. But we ought to be informed and not foolish, okay, about where we're at. All right. These next two, I'm going to do these real fast, so if you're still hanging on, don't go anywhere. The next category, I call it trickle-down corruption. Most of you know the saga that's been going on with Biden's son, Hunter, and then the thing that's happened with, they're saying maybe $10 million has been, again, established, documented, that has gone into various people in the Biden family through China, through a number of shell organizations. Okay, it has all the earmarks of money laundering. I'm just going to say I don't have time to go through all these, but if you want to investigate that a little bit, then you should. Okay, first there's 6 of those links, and they're good links. And the last one, number 6, was a picture. If you want to just see a real quick picture, if that's all you have time for. Okay, so this one is out of the loop. I didn't get this one right, number 7. I'm going to move real quick into kind of this global idea of what the Bible predicts. Again, do you still believe the Bible? Or have you become convinced? Because some preachers said that, if we do things good enough, everything's going to turn out good. No, everything's going to turn out good because Jesus comes. The scripture does declare what will happen on both good and evil in the last days. Good will accelerate to a place you won't even, the miraculous, the supernatural, signs and wonders, salvations, massive, massive harvest, 1 billion souls harvest. There is going to be the greatest good things that have ever happened. At the same time, please don't decide it's going to be one or the other, because it's not. The Bible does not say that. You have to believe what the Bible says if you say you're a Bible believer. The Bible says that evil will rise too. The good and the evil, they're both going to be, Isaiah 60 verse 1. It says, okay, rise and shine, for your light is coming. Gross darkness will cover the earth, but the Lord will rise upon you. It's saying it's both going to happen. All right. Some of these things start out looking like some big conspiracy. Okay, there are conspiracy theories that turn into conspiracy realities. You hear me say it all the time. The word conspiracy means to conspire. It is an amoral thing. It means a number of people get together and conspire, which means they're usually doing it in secret, to do something they don't want other people to know about. Okay, so when somebody catches wind of that, I'm giving you the Jim Moore definition. They say, hey, I have a theory that people are conspiring. Okay. It's not a question of whether people do conspire, because they do. They've been doing it. Even in the Bible, it talks about a conspiracy. All right. But once enough facts comes out, and listen to me, once the people who are conspiring going, yeah, ta-da, we're actually doing it. I mean, if we get so locked into a phrase being negative that we're not even willing to look at it. Anyway, so one of those things is weather control. Jim, you're going off the deep end. No, watch the video. This is a clip of 2 people who that believe, okay, that controlling the weather, these are old black and whites, is the future. We need to do it. Now, there are probably good things for that and mostly bad things for that, but let me just say it this way. The ultimate goal of people who want to be God is to control everything. Okay, is that simple enough? Excuse me. The ultimate goal, I'm going to say it again, of people who want to be God. Now, they may not even recognize what they want. But they don't want God to be God. They want to change biology. They want to change human reproduction. They want to make us into part machine, part human, so that we can be better. They want to genetically modify the food. They want to genetically modify babies. They want to modify the weather. Okay, these are all a part of the same idea, and that is we can do it better than God. Okay, now there are things that we're supposed to cooperate with God. I believe a lot of the advancements that have happened have been the Lord. He showed us. I am literally using an advancement that someone discovered, which means to uncover. Okay, man didn't invent the ether waves and so on, but God allowed us to uncover what he put out there for good. Okay, and they can also be used for evil. All right, so that's number 7. It talks a little bit about weather control. Number 8, y'all know who Jordan Peterson is? He's talking about some of the issues of the past sickness that we just went through. All of this information is now coming out. If you watched for any length of time the last few years, I've been talking about the fact that everything eventually becomes uncovered. Jesus said so. He's the truth. It's going to happen. So you can't always just believe, because somebody says, oh, that's conspiracy or whatever. Everything eventually is going to come out. And stuff is coming out by the bajillions. Right? That's not a word right now. Hi, Justin. God bless you. And Jordan Peter, who is no flake and committed to accuracy, is doing an interview with a man that's going to stun you. But probably a lot of you already knew it. That was number 8. Number 9, here's a short video of a guy whose telephone is in his hand. Okay, he's got his hand out there. He's got a little thing on his lapel, and he's I thought it was implanted in his hand until my son-in-law corrected me. Thank you, Dirk. But it's literally a projection. But it's a system made entirely for AI. And here's the quote that he says: "My AI knows what's best for me." Let's just do that. Okay, let's surrender our will and our heads and our minds and everything to AI. Okay, I know he's not saying that, but still, it's very creepy to me. He says, my AI knows what's best for me, but I am in total control. And I hear the devil laughing back there. Okay, I'm not saying that there's not some good in AI. I think there are. There's been some prophetic voices saying, don't listen that AI is bad because there's a lot of money to be made and Christians need to make a lot of money so they can advance the kingdom. Okay, I get that. I'm not trying to mock them. I get that. Okay, just like the internet, it can be used for good or evil. Okay, but you should have parameters on it so that it's not used for evil. That's all we're saying. All right. So I made a statement here last week that resonated in my spirit when I heard it. And it still does today. And I've heard a number of other people say. Actually, my wife said it to me. I think she was the only one. Maybe I heard it somewhere else too. Satan is coming for our kids. If ever there were a true statement, that's one right now. Satan is coming for our kids. What are we going to do? Are we going to pretend it's no big deal? Are we going to comply with it and actually say we're learning, we're evolving? Come on. If you can't recognize that Satan is coming for our kids, then you've got a big problem. So, number 1, I have to go through these fast. These are the extra credits. Number 1, there's a lawsuit that's been gone out because a public school teacher secretly lured 6th grader into basically a sex club at school. Calling it an art club, extracurricular, it's an art club, come to it. Turns out to be basically... the mystery groomer allegedly told the kids, suggesting that telling their parents wasn't safe. They recruit them into this thing and then does unthinkable things. You should read anyway, that one's one to watch. Number 2, public schools are obsessed with sex. A student is forced by their teacher to do an assignment to perform pornographic skit. Now, that doesn't mean they're to say pornographic things, not to expose himself in front of the class. And I'm not even going to read on here. I put the quote in there, one of the quotes that the kid was forced to say in front of his class so that you would see it. Okay, please look at that one. Glenn Beck, most of you know who Glenn Beck is. He had a dream, I believe, that God gave him that illustrated beyond political, social, scientific, and even religious rhetoric that said, your world is in a apocalyptic battle between good and evil right now, Glenn, and you must understand that. I'm not quoting. I'm paraphrasing. Okay? This is if you don't watch anything, watch what he said. Hey, what's Deb saying? Yeah, passing the bill. That's right. Read what Deborah's saying right now. All right. So they are coming for our kids. And Glenn is talking about it. Okay, I think this is second to the last one. A trial run for global governance. You have to understand that what's happening, number 1, PFIZER, Vice President. Oh, listen. This short clip is the Vice President of a drug manufacturing company that starts with P. Okay? The Vice President. You don't get more authentic and more accurate than the Vice President of the very company that is dealing with the subject of their product. Okay? That's all I'm going to say about it. Watch it. It's very important that you know. Again, these facts are coming out. So, the Great Reset. Most of you have heard about the Great Reset. I was stunned when I watched number 2. I called it the final word. because of the level of documentation. Now, this is one that probably many of you will not watch, only because it's only 36 minutes long. Here's what I would recommend. I'm going to give you a recommendation. Watch this video on your laptop so you can pause it and read off on this side. This guy goes through it super fast. It's like he's got 2 hours of documentation to go through in 30 minutes. And so he's boom, 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 boom. And you don't get a chance to really read. You need to put your eyes upon the documentation. It will blow you away when you say that. And then the last one, number 3, is something called The Great Reject. I haven't watched it, but it's supposed to give some practical ways to actually stand against some of this stuff that's happening. I'm going to end with this, eugenics. Here's the definition for eugenics. Listen close, and I'm stopping right here. Eugenics is the study or practice of attempting to improve the human gene pool, the human condition, by encouraging the reproduction of people considered to have desirable traits and discouraging or preventing the reproduction of people considered to have undesirable traits. This is what Hitler did. The Aryan race, it's superior. That's what he said. So we're going to eliminate, we're going to experiment, we're going to create a super race. Now, and also Margaret Sanger, the founder of Planned Parenthood, basically said the same thing. We're going to eliminate the inferior race. It's obvious, the poor, the unintelligent, they're inferior. It's genetic. It's inside their blood. It's inside their gene pool. We're gonna make a super race. That's really, I'm giving the simplistic view. We're going to make a super race of human beings. It's the same thing. We're better than God. We're smarter than God. We're going to put machinery in you. We're going to change your... Okay. That's the definitions. Number 2 is a short thing talking about what's happening today in this department. It's packaged a different way, but it's the same thing. Number 3 is a short movie trailer for a movie called Make Better People. And then number 4 is the actual documentary, Make Better People. Again, I haven't watched it, but watching the trailer was enough for me to know this is something I need to know about. All right, I got to go. I hate the fact that my time is so limited. Love you guys. God bless you. Please, please, please take the time to look up the links. If any of you watch all of them, I'm going to be shocked and surprised, and I'll pray an extra prayer for you. That'll be my brownie point. Love you all so much. Give yourself a